Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Ace Queen. We are in the big blind, and we have an early position player, open raises 2.5. He is playing about 21% raise first in. From early position, he limps first in about 9%. Overall is playing almost 30%, 29%. Definitely loosens up a bit, big on the button, also in the small blind. So when we look at this player's range, this is at 20%. This seems like wide for me for like an early position raiser, but he's got all these hands. It's entirely possible that he's playing something like this where he's playing broadways. He's got a suited connectors, suited one gappers, suited aces, pocket pairs. And then, if we think about what is that 9% that he limps, could be these small pocket pairs, could be like some of the suited kings, could be the rest of these that kind of add counts, maybe offsuit connectors. We've got 500 hands on him, and we could see that we could see his called 2 bets from blinds, his 4 bets, his 3-bet range. 3-bet definitely seems to be a little wide, but we do have to remember that some of those 3-bets could have been from the blinds too. Does seem to be a little bit aggressive post flop. So I think he'll probably c-bet. He'll be in position, so he'll probably c-bet on the flop and then slow down a little bit on the turn if he doesn't have any hands. So it's to me, and I call. I'm going to work through this range. This is button versus an early position player. I could 3-bet any of these, any of those hands. They don't have to always be a call. What we see with this fold 3-bet stat, it's 15%, so kind of looks like this guy, when he comes in for a race, he's probably not going to be folding, especially on a range like this. What kind of hands is he folding? Maybe Jack 8, maybe, one gappers, maybe some of the suited aces, like Ace 8, Ace 9. But a player like this is probably going to call because he'll have position. He's hoping to flop big. It's going to be my guess. So I called. Flop comes on Ace 8-7. Pretty good board for us. We could be behind Ace King, definitely. But I think for the most part, Villain Force is going to be betting here. So I think we check 100% of our range here. We're going to let Villain c-bet. He's c-betting 89%. And he does. And he actually c-bets pretty small. So, why didn't he go larger? I don't think 3 of a kind. I think 3 of a kind would go larger. Actually, let's first get that on there. Ace 8-7. Yeah, I think 3 of a kind is probably going to go larger. Same thing with 2-pair. I think top pair, I think these hands are probably going to go larger. But maybe like Ace 10 and lower are not. Because I think they're going to be worried about kicker problems. Ace Jack 2 maybe goes a little bit lower. So we've got top pair. I think maybe the pocket pair less than the top card. So kings, queens, jacks probably. Middle pair, bottom pair, pocket pair. We'll say no made hands. Well, flush draw, open enders, gut shots maybe, 2-card backdoor flush. I think the sizing is probably relevant. So we're not up to that 90%, but I think it's because he would have c-bet larger with some of these other hands. Some of these top pair hands, top pair plus hands. So I think we're going to call it right there, 53.5. And it's going to be on us. What do? We can call. I think he's going to be done with the hand. If he doesn't improve, it's going to be my guess. Or we can raise. And I'm kind of thinking this could be a good spot to raise. He could give us credit for, let's say, 2 hearts or maybe 8-9. I'm sorry, not 8, 9, 9, 10, that we're trying to make a move, and he calls with, you know, ace. He calls with maybe his ace 10, ace jack, because he thinks we're on the bluff. Maybe calls with kings, queens, or jacks as well. Now I know that we have blockers here, like we block jacks, we have an ace, so we're blocking some of these suited aces, but still, I think we could. I think it would, a check raise here would be consistent with what we could do with trips, what we could do with flush draw. Obviously, having an ace on the board is hard, because of all the hands. He's probably more likely to have one of these aces. I didn't raise, I just called. So I think maybe if we had a different top card, we could go for a little bit better. Maybe the board is a little, you know, could be better. But I'm going to say sets, I think 2 pair could have been raised. And then with our flushes, I think our nut flushes could have been raised. And probably our second nut flushes. So I'm going to say, since we just called, let's exclude some of these hands. Ace 9, ace 10, ace 6, ace 5. Yeah, I think I mean, if he folds, he folds. It's what it is, but we give ourselves opportunity to win the board with that check raise. All right, are we going to check raise all of our straights? No, I don't think so. I think we're going to call those. I think we're going to call those. I think we're going to call gut shots because we're not going to give him immediate credit for the ace. 2 card backdoor flush draws. I think we're going to call. What about pocket pairs? We're going to be calling these. Pocket pair less than the top card. And I think we're going to go middle pair and probably bottom pair, because we're going to be somewhat connected. We're going to have some draws. Pocket pair less than the board. I think we could probably just fold. We've got a lot of hands. If we check raise, I think some of these could be suitable check raises. We're really hoping that we just get a fold, that he doesn't have anything, and so that way we don't have to sweat. So I think we're going to probably leave our range something like that. And you can see that we're going to be ahead. All right, turns of 5 of diamonds. No improvement with any of our draws. So I would check. I think I would check 100%, and villain 4 actually checks behind. So that's no big surprise. So with villain 4 checking, I think we're going to exclude our top pair. Ooh, and I think we said ace jack. I think all of those we're going to be betting, so let's get those out. So maybe he checks top pair. Let's do some weighting. Let's say 50% chance that he actually checks those. I think he's checking those. All of these pairs, no made hands. I would like to say flush draws probably betting. Open enders probably betting. I think being aggressive. Gut shots probably not. So we'll go ahead and do something like that. Is what his checking range is. So I think I'm sure we're way ahead, and that kind of matches. He c-bets with the higher frequency on the flop than on the turn. So he checks. We had 100% of our range. We see a river, 7 of clubs. At this point, we could bet. If we get raised, we probably are forced to call, but I think 7 is in his range and 8's in his range. If we bet, I think we're only getting called by a pair plus, probably aces plus. If we check, he might take a stab at it. So Actually, I think I probably lean more towards check calling than with betting. So I do think we could bet. I mean, what kind of hands are we betting? What kind of hands do we think are going to call? I think that's ultimately our big question. I think three of a kind raises here. Top pair, it's their calls. And that's probably it. I think we're getting super high number of folds. So I actually kind of like just checking. If we're going to bluff here, I think we're going to bluff our busted flushes that don't have any pair. It's 20%. And then, in terms of some of the balance, maybe some of these like ace, yeah, maybe some of those. I think is maybe what we're leading here. So we got busted hearts, and then we've got top pair good kicker. Let's add those. So yeah, we're a little bit higher on value. Maybe trips too. Yeah, maybe trips. Three of a kind, 7. Maybe he'll get curious. So let's say that's our leading range here. I think it's consistent. All the other times where we call, just looking to see if he's going to give up on the turn, and then we try to steal it on the river. We do need to have some solid hands to make that play, and I think Ace Queen is one of those hands that we can do this with. So we bet, and villain calls. As we said, I think it's just going to be top pair. Maybe he thinks we're bluffing and he calls with one of these middle pairs. We'll see, and we will take a note. So we do see a river, and he shows the jack. So it's consistent with how he plays it. I do think we should take some notes here. He has donked with the nut straight. We also want to do this call river donk with under pair. I think that's probably sufficient. All right, so we had it in his range. We weren't quite sure if he was going to call with that, but that is one of his calling range hands that I think, again, c-bets and then slows down because they're afraid of the ace. And we just get him to call one of our bets. Would he have bet on the river? Probably not. So we pick up some of our. We win 60% when they fold, and then here he's calling 43%. We get some value when he does call. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another hand.